Well, folks, we have had the most idyllic day on the River Trent today. Fantastic fishing, and what a lot of people would class as proper fishing, whatever that means, Lee. Because we've been talking throughout the day, on and off, about this big splurge of like big weights that are up and down the country, like huge weights on like on a lot of commercial fisheries. Todburn Manor, Forest Lane, I think has had some big weights.
Lindome recently breaking his record 2 or 3 times.
Larford, even my local place, Shrewsbury Valley. It's a small complex, but the weights have been fantastic.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about, you know, what sort of constitutes.
Where's the line?
Yeah,
where's
what
the
constitutes
line?
like
Fishing.
Because I'm going to let you have your opinion in a minute, because I want to talk about other things related to it, as in fishery management and all that sort of thing, and whether we're becoming better anglers or the fishing has just improved. I'm not too sure about that, but I'm going to have my say on it, and I think I love it. You know, if an individual wants to go and catch 500, 600, 700 pound of fish at their local fishery, and they want to refine everything and gear up accordingly, and they want to do that, and that's their enjoyment, and they see that as that is their style of fishing, I think that's fantastic. Because whereas me personally, I don't know if I'd want to do that. I have done in the past, Lee. I've been to a lot of places where it was F1 fishing, you know, when if F1s were just starting to appear on the scene, and we were sort of in the F1, you know, right in the middle of this sort of like F1 snake lake craze.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of it. Shallow F1 fishing, you're catching a lot of fish, getting a lot of bites, very busy. I used to love it. Granted, we're not talking about catching 300 pound of them, but I used to love it, catching a lot of fish.
Yeah.
It's not for the purist. It's not trotting a stick float down the River Trent.
No.
It's still fishing, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's still fishing. That's an interesting concept, because for me, I'll take part of what you said there and say it's the same. So, yeah, anyone who wants to go and catch a massive weight of fish, then go for it. Absolutely. If that's what you enjoy with your day out, then go for it. But it's the same if I say to somebody, well, if you want to go and knock 10 pins down with 10-pin bowling, or you want to go play snooker, go for it. Do I think the massive weights of fishing? Well, it depends what you're constituting as fishing, because we were chatting about it and we were saying some of these weights, they're fishing here, right? And I'm using the term fishing because it is fishing, right? And they're throwing the bait in here and flipping the rig in here, and the elastic's pulled out there, and then you're netting a fish. So it's fishing, but in a different way. Now, you said it's not for the purists. So for me, when I went fishing, it was almost part of the hunt. Do you understand what I mean?
Again, we wanted it to feel like there was some difficulty to it.
For example, location is one of the key things with fishing. Location, where to fish, when, why. Obviously, a lot of these places, where they're catching the massive weights, when I say massive, I'm talking anything over 300 pound. That's a massive weight.
Huge.
And we've seen 700, 800 pound catches in the UK this year. There was even one that was it nearly 1,000?
No,
it wasn't far off.
Been 1,000 pounds.
So, I mean, that is a scary figure. And I was saying to you, I was lucky enough once to have a day where I caught 500 pound, 513 pound in a big event. Not many people on the lake, mind you, but the event was a big event. 200 carp, and I was really busy, Rob. It was a busy day. I fished 5 metres down the edge, caught a lot of fish. These days, 500 pound, it's almost scoffed at some of these big fisheries where they're catching massive weights.
I think 500 pound is like still an achievement.
It is, but when they're talking about 800 pound not winning a match,
yeah, I get
that's
it.
Scary. That's scary as far as I'm concerned. So my view is, each to their own by far. I believe that the art of fishing is possibly lost in that, and I think, you know, I've watched some of the videos of the, you know, countries in Asia, China and that sort of place, where they'll sit 5 metres apart in a well aerated pool, and they fish. They almost fish like a whip, don't they?
Yeah, and they're catching fish after fish. And
it's incredible. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I watch them and think that's impressive, because they're almost netting fish in the air. Almost the technical skill comes out more. So I'm saying, if you're catching a big weight, technically you've got to be amazing.
So you're obviously saying I get it, and it is fishing, but is it more match fishing rather than fishing? Because you're competing against the anglers around you in a competition environment, and you're trying to beat those anglers rather than necessarily beating the fish. Because obviously with so many fish there, if you're catching 800 pound, there's a lot of fish there.
Yeah.
You've got to work things out. You've got to work things out, and I've got loads of admiration for those people that have worked out the rig and the depths and the right bait, and they prepare right, and they've got the kit exactly right for catching those big waves.
Does that then become monotonous over 5 hours though?
Yeah, but that's up to a person, Lee. You've spent a lot of time on natural venues.
I'm not saying
bleak fishing, it's the same sort of thing.
It is, yes.
And that's level, that's the classic argument, isn't it? Well, you catch 10 bleak a minute for 5 hours, or do you catch...
But I won't sit here and say that when I've been away on international duty, when it's a bleak match, we all turn our nose up.
Yeah, of course you don't want to do it. Yeah, I get it.
Which is what I'm saying. So when it becomes mass amounts of fish, there definitely seems to be a divide, and it could be 1,000 bleak or 1,000 pound a carp. For me, the technical aspect of that's why I reference bowling, snooker, something that is very, very
level playing field.
And my respect for those people, for the snooker players of the world, is through the roof. I think they're absolutely incredible how they can do it. I think it's totally different to sitting on the River Trent and not necessarily running a stick float down, which is the sort of traditional what you would say. But even if I was going to a commercial and I might have to sneak a few on a method and then drop down on the bottom on pellets. And when we used to fish at Whiteacres, often Whiteacres, I'd go to Whiteacres, we'd have a good day at Belingi. Rest of the week,
£50 was great.
30 to 60 pound, right?
Yeah.
And that, for me, there was a very technical aspect of that fishing. Well, I need to nick one down the edge. I've got to keep this line topped up. Somebody who's fishing here isn't worried about keeping the shallow line topped up, or they're literally getting that physical and technical skill of netting the fish, which is a skill on its own. The headline to this video is that fishing? I'm not sure if it is fishing, or the people have said it's catching would be a better word. I don't know what it is, because for me, the word fishing is more than that.
I get it.
It's more than that. But the respect is there for doing it because I've done it.
Right.
I can sit here and say it because I've done it.
Here's something then. So there's a couple of things to look at. The matches that are catching these big weights, and the commercials that have got a lot of fishing that are a very level playing field. So because there's so many fish in the venue, there's a level playing field. It means that a lot of people can catch a big weight from a lot of pegs.
Yeah.
Just levels it out. I don't know about you, but I've seen the attendances drop on those sort of matches. So we know that you could probably use your own local venue as an example. You've all got one near you, that there's one or two anglers on your circuit that are fantastic. They're the guys to beat. If you pile a load more fish in the venue, or the fishing conditions become a lot better, those guys are going to be even more unbeatable. So I think the guys and girls that maybe have their one or two matches a year when their particular method kicks into play, or they're maybe not as tactically aware, or maybe they've got their own special way of fishing, those people just aren't going on the matches now because they feel that almost the fishing's too fair. They're not going.
Well, I think a classic example, and I'm sure they won't mind me mentioning it, was Lindome Lakes. So the fishing at Lindome, I've fished around Yorkshire on a lot of fisheries. For me, it's second to none. The amount of fish that is in the venue, the amount of different fish that are in the venue, what they're catching is incredible.
Lee, every time we go to Lindome, we catch a load of fish.
It's
a load of fish.
And as a result, on the matches where over time little rules came in, this was banned, that was banned, you've got to have this on, and as those rules became established, the better anglers were consistently winning all the time, almost like they had the skill honed. Now Lindome's taken the radical action of getting rid of the rules.
Yes.
Right? And that might mean that me can go and float my pole across, and maybe I can compete with someone fishing a lash because I'm not as good as, and let's use Andy Bennett, who's absolutely amazing at shallow fishing. Maybe I'm not as good as him at shallow fishing, so I want to go and do that. So I think it's going to be really interesting over the next year, 18 months, 2 years, on a lot of these places where the fishing is frankly unbelievable. It'll be interesting to see how anglers evolve and adapt, and how these fisheries evolve and adapt to become inclusive. They've got cost cutter matches, they've got cheaper matches on Friday. I think it's forward thinking, Rob. I think, you know, I look at Barston, it doesn't have any rules. It's one of the most popular venues in the UK.
I think, you know what I feel
Barston's
popular though, Lee, is because it offers the variety. It offers the fact that, one, you're never behind. Obviously there's better pegs than others, we all know that in fishing, there's going to be better pegs than others. One, you're never behind. Halfway through the match, you're still looking and thinking, there's some big fish in this lake, I can get out of jail. It's not a case of catching. When I was going Lakeview years ago, every fish was a pound. It averaged a pound. We were catching between 100, 150 pound per match. And the locals there they weren't even calling them fish, they were calling them units. Like, how many units have you had? Because it became that sort of fishing. Now, obviously, that's been moved on a stage now into catching double, triple those weights. But when you're thinking like that about the fish, just don't know, like you say, maybe, you know, is that the right way of looking at it?
Barston, and use Barston example, £200 isn't uncommon. £200 throughout the summer is a weight that will happen at Barston a lot. £300 is rare. £400 has never happened to my knowledge. So you're talking about a fishery that is slightly lower weight. Maybe expectations are lower, but still incredible, by the way. If I'm going fishing for £100, I think that's incredible. But I think it's going to be interesting because fisheries have proved they're looking after their fish brilliantly. They are making sure their fish are fit, because these weights aren't going away. Lindholm gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a bit of an arms race as well with the fisheries, because they feel like they need to keep up and keep going.
Is that what the people want? That's the question, though.
Yeah,
and that's the question of the video. Listen, it might not be, it's not my chosen style of fishing, and ultimately people will vote with their feet. They will go to where they want to go to. And I think the beauty of fishing, Rob, has to be there's something for everyone. As we've sat here doing this piece, our barbel rod is there.
Yeah.
We haven't had a single bite while we've sat here doing it. Doing it. But we're hoping for that one magical fish. I love that. I also love catching £100, £200 on a commercial. So I think
I know as well,
it's up to the anglers,
I know as well, Lee. Obviously, I know Dan at Shearsby really well. They're catching a lot of fish. There's a lot of F1s in Shearsby. They average about £1. They're catching 200, nearly £300 of fish. It's a lot of fish, 300 fish in a match. The lakes are absolutely rammed. You throw a bit of bait in, there's fish like piranhas.
Good water quality, good air,
I'm going to touch you. Good water quality. Dan is constantly not on edge, because he's not on edge, but he's constantly trying to balance that water quality. There's no room for a mistake. So that's where we've got to now, that a lot of fisheries, if they haven't got good management, they're going to overstep that balance, and they're going to, you know, have problems. But
that seems to happen less and less these days, though, Rob, as people have been educated.
So you tell me, Lee, is there more fish in these lakes? Have we got better at catching them? Why are the weights all of a sudden?
I don't know.
Materialise?
I don't know if it is the more fish, or, like you say, the education that is there for the fisheries to keep so healthy. I mean, you know, I go back to Lindholm. I know lakes like Benny's, which are fishing incredible. He actually took some fish out because it was getting, you know, there was obviously the fish were expanding and getting bigger, but they're getting bigger because they're being fed on the right baits. Pellets are mega popular. The water quality's treated. You know, everything is being done to look after these fish. So it's going to be, I think fishing's in for an interesting time. Ultimately, I'm going to go back to it again, Rob. Anglers will vote with their feet to where they want to go. If they want to go and have these amazing catches, they're going to go. If they want to come and sit here on the river,
I think it's great to have that choice.
Yeah,
Listen,
I do, yeah.
Right, just to end the video, get involved. Comment below, what's your preferred style of fishing? We'd love to know whether you want to go and catch 200, 300, 500 pound plus on a commercial fishery. Fantastic day out, catch a fish after fish. Brilliant, easy, well, not an easy day out, but I'm saying we've walked a long way today. We've walked a lot of way with a lot of bait, waded out into the river. It's a little bit of a simpler day out than getting yourself down the river early in the morning, walking probably a quarter of a mile with your kit and doing that. What would you rather do? Get out on a natural venue, or go to your local commercial, catch a massive weight?